Dad Behaviour is the 8th episode of the 28th season of The Simpsons, directed by Stephen Dean Moore. I quite like this one, but I feel like some of it was a little bit all over the place. I think the narrative structure wasn't the best, but generally I quite liked it. So the sub-narrative I can deal with very quickly. Grandpa reveals that he's been dating a woman and this woman is now pregnant. And I won't say any more than that, but to be honest, that definitely felt like padding. Kind of. On the one hand, it felt like padding that they never really fully explored, but ultimately I did actually like where that story went. But it does also look at Abe as a father, which is important because the main focus is actually on Homer as a father, because Homer discovers the existence of Chore Monkey, which is kind of like TaskRabbit, where he hires people to do whatever he wants. And he hires somebody to play football or basically just to toss a ball around with Bart and play Monopoly with Bart. But then Homer realizes that he wants to do those things. He doesn't want somebody else to get Bart's affection. And I won't say exactly what happens, but I will say Milhouse is involved, and I think Homer and Milhouse are really interesting to watch interacting with each other. And it's all about how Homer acts as a father, but also how he responds when he sees somebody else in that fatherly role with Bart. And it kind of made me think it might be what step parents feel like. I'm not a step parent. I'm not a parent unless my cat counts. But I can't even begin to imagine what it must feel like if you are, for example, a father, but you live separately from your child, and then the child gets a stepfather and they get on well with that person. That must be really hard to deal with. And I feel like that's a tiny glimpse of what Homer was going through here. Even though he hired the person through Chore Monkey, I don't think he realised quite how it would affect him. And I kind of liked the way the narrative played out. It was relatively interesting. And ultimately how it developed and how it concluded, everything made a lot of sense. It was quite good fun, but also very emotional. And I think it got the balance quite right. With regards to the specifics, the individual things that happened in each scene, a lot of it wasn't that interesting. For me, one of the highlights was the game of Monopoly, and that sounds really boring. It was actually, quite well played out, but generally I feel like they could have done a bit more with it, but what we got wasn't too bad. It's not too bad. It's an interesting look at fatherhood from several different perspectives and different types of fathers. We get to see Grandpa Simpson as a little baby, which I thought was fun. It parodies another popular character, but I won't say which character. It was okay. It's not my favourite episode, but I wouldn't mind watching it again. I wouldn't skip it if I was watching season 28. I think dad behaviour can be quite thought-provoking. I think depending on where you're coming from with it, it might be quite emotional at times. Personally, I thought it was not a bad episode, not a favourite, but I'd be happy to watch it again.